The feeling of feeling behind in life sucks. You see people you knew in college graduating with these lucrative degrees, making twice what you make now. And a few years later, you see the same people getting engaged, married, and wait for it, a baby picture. You want a life like that for yourself, but you're possibly still single, broke, and even living at your parents' house. You've been telling yourself your whole life that you have this insane potential, but when you look at yourself in the mirror, you feel ashamed because you haven't gotten there yet. Rest assured, you are not alone. Today we're gonna dive into the story of a man who felt exactly the same way. Spoiler alert, it's me. Afterwards, I'll leave you with a few practical tips that help me cope with the feeling of feeling behind too. Without further ado, let's dive right in. My father passed away when I was 9, leaving my mom and I penniless. Growing up without a father meant living a very unstable and uncertain future, where my mom and I were forced to move around every 2 years of my life in order to survive. Even though my mom didn't have much, she still wanted me to have a great education. So she managed to find a way to put me in a school in a great neighborhood. And this school was filled with basically all rich kids. I'm telling you, these guys were so privileged that by the time they turned 16, their parents usually gifted them a brand new luxury car like a BMW or Mercedes.
Hey, asshole, is that your Tesla in the handicap spot? You can't park your car there.
Oh, it's not a car, it's a Tesla. It's the future.
Whenever I'd visit a friend from these schools, I would see what their upbringing looked like. They had a beautiful home, both a mom and a dad, and even pets to keep them entertained. I wanted that. I wanted a beautiful home and a stable family. I couldn't help myself but become engrossed with this desire for stability, or what I thought was normal. So what did this desire do to me? It caused me to bury my head in books and pursue the hardest possible technical degree I could think of, computer science. And then after grinding for 4 years, I was able to get a computer science degree and land a really lucrative job, making $90,000 right out of college. 3 years later, making over $100,000. I can't possibly be feeling behind, right? Wrong. It turns out I still can't rub off this feeling of feeling behind. In order to break this loop, I had to ask 2 questions. How did I catch this feeling? And more importantly, how do I get rid of this feeling? Well, for starters, there was a central stench. Do you smell comparison? We tend to compare the crappy parts of our lives with the highlight reels of others. Do you really think that's helpful or productive? You can't even see the whole picture. All you can see is one tiny thread in what's really a beautiful tapestry. For example, I've had trouble dealing with the fact that this famous YouTuber was born in the same month, year, and hometown as me in Chicago, yet our lives unfolded in completely different directions. He ended up hitting 18.8 million YouTube subscribers and moving into a $9.5 million house, while I busted my ass in college to get a degree to only live a pretty mundane life. What I failed to predict, however, was that in one moment, his entire career would be completely derailed by one scandal. This showed me that God, the universe, energy, whatever you believe in, has a plan for all of us. This reminded me of a famous quote by Tim Hiller. Don't compare your beginning with someone else's middle. That line couldn't be more true. So I promise you that I leave you with a few practical tips that I learned on my journey, so here we go. We've established that the biggest culprit of feeling behind is really comparison. So I wanted to use this analogy to help change your perspective a little bit. Let's say that there's you and then there's this person that you know in either real life or on social media, and they have success in an area that you value. Now you have the choice to go down 2 roads, the road of scarcity or the road of abundance. The road of scarcity takes you to a zero-sum game. His win is your loss. Vice versa. This road leads you to envy and to resent them for their success and blame external things for why you don't have what they have. If this is where your mind normally goes, that's okay. This is completely normal. Then you have the road of abundance. Should you choose to adopt an abundance mindset, this road will lead you to get inspired by what they have, since you tell yourself that there's enough out there for both of you, consequently wishing them even more success. Regardless of which road you choose, the road of scarcity or abundance, you might see yourself doing various check-ins with the other person, where you compare where they are today with where you wish you were, even if you're inspired by them. And I learned this technique in therapy, but all you do is you label in your mind comparison, comparison, comparison. What that's doing is it's separating the thought from you, and hopefully eventually that will take away the emotional component to it. You'll become a ninja at this after a while, but it does take some time to get used to. Tip number 2, Get really clear on your vision and your values. Don't let your family or your friends or anyone else give you this for you. You have to define it for yourself, because once you have a vision and a plan, you'll be immune to any of the Facebook posts or milestone updates you'll see from anyone else, because you guys don't have the same goals and vision. But if you don't have a plan, then every time you see anyone put a random status update or make progress in their lives, and you're not making the same progress for yourself, you're going to become depressed, and it's unnecessary stress. Remember that you can have anything you want in life when you're making this plan, but you can't have everything. So be really, really choosy. Tip number 3, build habits, not goals. While having a goal is great, I believe it should only be used as a compass, because you can get focused on the goal too much and it'll take you out of the present moment, and you're gonna start this comparison loop, and then you're gonna start feeling behind. But if you just set habits related to your goals, and a great book for this is Atomic Habits, then you'll eventually get to the goal because you have the habits and the action in place. For example, if your goal is to become a YouTuber, then rather than to focus on the goal of becoming a YouTuber, you can focus on activities related to that. For example, script writing. So let's say that after I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna go to my desk and I'm going to write a script for 1 hour per day without being distracted. It doesn't matter the quality of the script, what you end up writing, or whether it even becomes a video. But what matters is that you sat down and you had that habit. It's worth noting that most of you watching this are in your early 20s. Need I remind you how young you are? Most of you can't even rent a car yet. Just to add some color to this point, in 1990, J.K. Rowling was 25 years old and stuck on a delayed train when she came up with the idea for Harry Potter.
You're a wizard, Harry.
It took her 7 years to finish and publish that book. Now, during those 7 years, she was fired from her day job as a secretary, got married and divorced, and got diagnosed with depression. Write this down. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. You are exactly where you're meant to be. Thank you so much for staying to the end of this video. If you got anything out of it, please like this video, and if you like this kind of content, then hit subscribe for future videos. If you feel comfortable, then please share your story in the comments. I'll definitely read it and reply to it, but it'll also provide reassurance to anyone else who visits this video. With that said, I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one.